Welcome back to Don Critic, where I'm on the hunt to play everything that's ever been developed and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment and its family of PlayStation studios. Now, that is a ginormous library of games spanning 5 console generations and some epic franchises that have come out of these incredibly talented studios. Now, with War of the Monsters receiving its PlayStation 5 debut this week, I thought this would be a fantastic game to start this journey with. War of the Monsters is originally a PlayStation 2 exclusive that was developed by first-party PlayStation studio Incognito Entertainment with assistance from Sony Santa Monica. This was Incognito's third game following Twisted Metal Black and Twisted Metal Small Brawl, which both released in 2001. Taking a break from the vehicular combat, they instead went for kaiju-sized combat with this next project. War of the Monsters released first in North America on the 14th of January 2003, on the 17th of April 2003 in Europe, and a year later on the 25th of March 2004 in Japan. Except this release in Japan was licensed out to Capcom for publishing. Strange that Sony of Japan didn't publish War of the Monsters themselves in this region, as the game is literally inspired by the country's most popular fictional creature. War of the Monsters has also seen fantastic support from Sony over the years, with it releasing as a PS2 classic on the PlayStation 3 in 2012, on the PlayStation 4 in 2015, and most recently we have War of the Monsters on PlayStation 5 in 2025. This port was handled by implicit conversions built in their Syrup engine, which is the emulator used for all of these recent PlayStation classics. This Syrup engine comes with a pause menu that allows you to rewind your game, create a save at any point, change between different visual filters, change the aspect ratio, adjust the game's colours, allowing you to play in weird variants, and even black and white, very fitting for this game. You can customise button assignments and even change the region of the game that you're playing, able to choose between the NTSC region or PAL region. Now back to War of the Monsters, this is a homage to the classic sci-fi and monster movies of the 1950s. The intro to the game starts with newspaper headlines detailing the recent attack of alien UFOs with the classic pulp saucer designs. The military quickly construct a secret weapon to destroy the UFOs, like a Tesla EMP emitter. These are installed across the globe, even atop the pyramids of Giza. Earth strikes back, fills the screen, again playing into that retro movie theme. You've also got the black and white cameras, like this footage was broadcast on television. The secret weapon is a success, and the UFOs fall out of the sky, crashing into the ground. The hazardous fuel pukes all over the surrounding area. The Eiffel Tower is destroyed, wreckage fills across the planet. The aliens might have been defeated, but it's not really a victory. This waste pollutes our water supply and now causes dangerous mutations to various creatures, transforming them into 100-foot tall monsters. Giant insects, reptiles, and even statues emerge from the earth. And now they battle for our entertainment. This is War of the Monsters. The title screen here is so incredibly creative. Like the era and theme this game is based upon, the main menu screen fittingly is styled around a drive-in movie theatre, which is playing War of the Monsters on the screen, with the kaiju fans sat patiently in their Cadillacs awaiting you to press the start button. The music explodes with this thunderous roar, this pessimistic undertone, a feeling of no hope. It's doomsday, monsters reign supreme, and the huge orchestra complements the size of the monsters we're about to witness. The War of the Monsters OST is on another level, paying homage to those same 50s monster movies the game so elegantly draws its inspiration from. The other sections in the menu keep within this drive-in theatre setting. As we click the options tab, the camera cruises over to the drink station, displaying the options on a menu, replacing those delicious snacks with volume sliders and save settings. The Load Games tab sends us over to the projector room to retrieve our previous saves from a shelf of film reels. The whole design of this game is just fantastic. Now, starting the one player mode, we have 8 playable monsters, with an extra 2 to unlock with tokens achieved after battles. There is the Godzilla inspired Torgira, the large mantis Praetor, the King Kong homage Kongar, a classic military robot Robo 47, the statue come to life Agamo, the Japanese mech Ultra 5, the 4-armed lava beast Magmo, and the Scooby-Doo looking Kineticlops. Each monster comes with 4 skin variants, the last 2 of each need to be unlocked. Now, adventure mode consists of 11 stages that play out the same no matter which monster you choose. The adventure mode will introduce you to the controls, showcase each of the playable beasts, give you a taste of each of the game's battle arenas, and put you up against 3 different bosses that will test your skills. The loading screen between each stage is fitted with an old movie poster design describing the forthcoming level and highlighting which dangerous monster you will be up against. The levels are essentially like the movies that are being shown at the theatre. In the first mission, Day of the Colossus, Kongar is rampaging across Midtown Park. 2 helicopters almost capture the beast, but they are no match for his strength. Then he spots us. Kongar is our first battle, fitting as he is on all versions of the game's cover art, and he's the most balanced character in the roster. War of the Monsters plays like most 3D action fighting games, having light and heavy attacks, ranged attacks that drain your blue stamina meter, and when it's full you can execute one of 2 different special moves unique to each monster. There will be a ranged special attack and a close quarters special attack. You can also grab your opponent or even different objects in your environment, such as cars, rubble, or radio antenna that can then be thrown to impale and stun your opponent. Tall buildings can be climbed to reach new heights, often with stamina and health points lying at the top. Buildings can also be destroyed. Knocking your opponent into them will see the structures crumble apart. Debris will launch across the ground, and after even more damage you will see these skyscrapers turn to rubble and fall over, potentially crushing you or your foes. Every stage is fully destructible, and it feels fantastic, a massive evolution of the classic Rampage arcade series that would see you crumble towers in 2 dimensions. Beneath your giant feet, the panicked citizens run in a fluster across the environments, simply waiting to become red jam as you trample over them. War of the Monsters levels are superbly detailed, each one having its own feel: an aeroplane runway with passengers struggling to escape their doom, a tropical volcanic island in which you can cause its grumbling volcano to erupt, and even an Asian neon-lit city utopia that can be flushed away with a tsunami. The second level, Revenge of Torgira, is a 2-stage battle that starts with us fighting the giant reptilian Torgira in Gambler's Gulch, a stage based on the famous Las Vegas Strip. This is an epic battle that has me and the imposter Torgira crashing each other through the varied architecture. After Torgira is defeated, the military bring in their experimental weapon, Robo 47. He has an army of tanks and helicopters with him, so separating him from the army is the key to victory. The third level, Outpost X, sees our first boss battle. We have travelled to a military base in the desert, very Area 51. We start by fighting multiple Praetors that are using the Red Ant skin. Once all the mutated Red Ants are defeated, Goliath Prime then shows up, an even larger robot than the one in the previous battle. Goliath Prime is one of 3 unplayable boss characters in the game and has 2 phases. In the first part of the battle, you have to grab and throw the bombs back to Goliath Prime to knock him off the top of the base. It is quite finicky and doesn't always register when it clearly hits him. After a few too many hits, he will be knocked down and come crashing through the entrance. Now we just need to use the 3 platforms in the middle of the arena to avoid his attacks and slowly chip away at his health when there's an opening. Otherwise he can really send us flying. Once defeated, Goliath Prime dramatically explodes and falls to its demise. The 4th level is the Creeping Chaos, now in Metro City, which has a train system surrounding the stage. We battle Praetor and Kongar again, who has been brought back from his defeat in the 1st level via cybernetics, making him like a Mecha Kongar. The 5th level, It Came From the Skies, introduces one of the locked monsters, Raptros. Taking place at an airport, we are tasked with battling 2 Raptros, fire-breathing dragons that can fly around the stage. The 6th level, Battle for Atomic Island, presents us with an objective. Endless waves of Kineticlops will spawn from the energy towers surrounding the power station in the middle, until the towers are destroyed. Once the objective is complete, the station will explode, and then we'll have to fight our second boss. Vigon is a 3-headed Venus flytrap creature. It's the most straightforward of the 3 bosses, requiring you to block its attacks with some rubble littered around the arena. When it goes for a strike, throw the rubble at its jaw and it will take a set amount of damage. Then it'll hide away with its vines trying to grab you. After a while, Vigon will pop back up and you just repeat the strategy until it's defeated. In the 7th level, Battle of the Titans, we have to destroy 2 Robo-47s that are defending Baytown. This stage is built on a cliffside, adding a unique dimension to it. Otherwise this is just another regular but fun as hell battle. Level 8, Terror in Paradise, has such an epic poster. I love the angle and the dimensions, the damsel in distress lit by the volcanic flames and pulling her chains in terror, the towering behemoth peering over the cliffside, his hands stretching forth, with the UFOs above. Really cool artwork. In this level, Magmo and Agamo are already battling one another on this paradise island, but it's up to us to defeat them both, and there are also UFOs that pester us in this battle. In level 9, Destroyer Wave, we head to Sunopolis, where we are challenged by a red and blue Ultra 5 robots. This is another epic duel as the map is so well detailed. The atmosphere is fantastic. After defeating them both, a UFO craft arrives and abducts us. In level 10, Terror in Space, we are transported to the alien mothership that has caused this whole disaster. We battle 3 Zorgulon, the second locked playable monster. Zorgulon, with the squid-like features and crab claws, are common traits of some of the classic sci-fi aliens like those seen in This Island Earth and Tim Burton's Mars Attacks. This is the first battle where it's 3 against 1, but luckily it isn't too much of a challenge after defeating all the previous enemies. Defeating the aliens causes the mothership to explode and we crash back down on the surface of the planet in front of the White House. The final boss, Cerebulon, Destroyer of Worlds, emerges from the wreckage. The stilted metallic design inspired by H.G. Wells' classic War of the Worlds. Cerebulon is without a doubt the toughest challenge in the game. The first phase of the fight, you have to hide behind these pillars from his deadly laser beam attack that will knock about half your health off if it hits you continuously. Once he's used a laser for a few seconds, his shield will fall whilst he recharges, and this is the moment to throw as many objects as you can before the shield rises again. It takes a few tries before getting his health low enough to initiate phase 2. Here the legs and arms will explode and the brain will pop out of the saucer into this tentacle form. In this phase he has a really tricky lightning attack to dodge if you get too close. You've got to keep away from him as much as you can and find the parts of his saucer that exploded and throw these huge chunks at him, cracking and eventually smashing the glass dome. Then the real form of Cerebulon will emerge from the machine, and this will be a more familiar battle, except Cerebulon has a ludicrously OP 10 combo attack which you don't want to get hit by. So my best strategy was to keep my distance, collecting every blue orb I could find, and using my ranged attack which would stun Cerebulon for a few times, allowing me to whittle down his health bar. This is a challenging battle and a solid final boss to the adventure mode. Once he's defeated, he explodes and a tiny little cerebulon will come out scurrying out of his corpse. Once you've beaten the final stage, you will unlock an ending detailing the origins of the monster you selected, but these are pretty short and a lot of them are already seen in the intro to the game. As for other single player modes, there is your standard battle mode letting you choose your monsters, match options and the battle arena. Endurance mode puts you up against an endless wave of enemies to see how many you can defeat on one life. In the Unlocks tab, you can spend your tokens to unlock Raptros and Zorgulon. New skins including a crossover Sweet Tooth skin for Agamo based on Sweet Tooth's Twisted Metal Black transformation, and some other awesome designs like a skeleton Raptros, Ice Kongar, and an Evangelion inspired Ultra 5. You can also unlock some extra maps and 3 bonus minigames. The minigames are only available in 2-player mode, but do add just a little more to the experience if you have a second player and a second controller to play them. The minigames are presented as an arcade cabinet sat next to the snacks bar. Dodgeball is pretty simple. There's a giant ball in the centre of the arena and hitting your opponent with it will score you a point. First to 3 points wins the match. Big Shot took a little getting used to. You take turns running and diving off a moving platform, trying to hit a score on the rooftops across from you. It's pretty difficult with the dated controls, so I found this one the least interesting. Finally, Crush-O-Rama is pretty much a 3D take on Rampage. You've got to demolish buildings in a small square stage, and the player who has caused the most damage within the time limit wins the match. It's played with a fixed perspective and is a fun mode which really could have done with a single player option and maybe some more levels. Otherwise, these are pretty shallow minigames. War of the Monsters is a PS2 classic, acting as a terrific homage to the classic movies of the 50s and works of artists like Ray Harryhausen. And the 3D arena combat is so detailed and destructive, it would even make Battlefield 4's Levolution shed a tear. Sadly, however, the game wouldn't get the sales it deserved. It sold the most in North America, but it still wasn't enough to get a platinum re-release, meaning it didn't sell over 500,000 copies in its first 6 months of being on sale. But while not a commercial success, it would still gain a cult following from those who did pick it up and enjoyed its kaiju battling gameplay. War of the Monsters today is a fairly forgotten Sony game that, outside of the consistent ports across the PS3, 4 and 5, still hasn't really seen much in the way of cameos or references in future Sony projects. I was surprised to see that out of all the old obscure IP in Astrobot, there wasn't any Kongarbot. Incognito Entertainment's next video game would be another experimental project with extreme sports bike riding game Downhill Domination, which launched in the same year of 2003. And that marks the end of War of the Monsters for now, until it gets another port in the future, as I think a sequel is pretty much out of the question in this modern era of Sony. Thanks for watching this breakdown of a PS2 classic. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next episode of playing every game from Sony Interactive Entertainment. Catch you in the next one, and take care.